All right, hello there. It's Mr. Drysdale here again. I'm about to go through the instrumental music audition requirements. And here we are, first off, starting with the Eastwood website at eciwordsb.ca. If I just click on Arts, I'm going to go down to where it says New Applicants. And once I get to this screen, we'll see all of the application information for all different instruments, and we'll also see some deadlines, which are very important. The biggest one being the 12th of January when you send in your application, and then finally the recordings and your audition materials will be sent in by the 19th. I'm just going to skip down here because you're going to hear information in other videos about some of the other parts of the process and procedure. I just want to talk about instrumental music and auditioning in that. So here we are. We're just scrolling down till we find this little box that's titled Music Instrumental. And within this box, you're going to see supplemental materials that you can access depending on the instrument you're auditioning with. And this link here is the important one because that gives you all the details that I'm about to share. So why don't we go there now? So here we are, Find Your Art, Music Instrumental. What we're looking for is four things that you can either splice together. If you are tech savvy, you can go ahead and do that. And you prefer to have one video submission, you can, or you can also submit each video separately. But let me just read through. So you will submit a video audition in lieu of a live audition. From this video, you'll be evaluated on your ability to take the instrumental music major classes. Special evaluation will focus primarily on skill level, experience, poise, and preparation level. Your potential to continue to grow as a music student will also be a factor in the evaluation. Pitch and rhythmic accuracy, intonation, tone quality, and musicality will be evaluated using the criteria outlined below. Be prepared for your audition, dress respectively as if you were performing live. And just a note, there is a great resource on the previous page that will give you all the tips and tricks for recording a successful video audition. I would check that out. So, video requirements. Before I say that, note this thing in bold here, which is really important. If you're unable to access an instrument that you plan on auditioning with due to COVID-19, so maybe for some reason or another, you cannot get an instrument through your school, please check with your principal or check with the music teacher at your school to see if you can access an instrument for this reason first. And if you cannot, then contact our administrator, Arlene, or there's a Google form as well that I'll point you to in a different, somewhere else in this video. There's also a form that you can fill out. Just know that we're going to try everything we can do to make sure you have access to an instrument for this audition. All right, so video requirements. You may submit each section as one video or 4 separate videos. Please also submit a PDF or JPEG. We just need a visual of the solo if you plan on choosing option A, and I'll go into the options in a second. So if you're picking a selection, a solo that we don't have, then we're just asking that you submit along with your video of the solo, the music that goes along with it, okay? Could be as simple as taking a picture with your phone and uploading that and sending it in, just so long as we can see the notes. That would be great. Thank you very much. So your instrumental solo does not need to be memorized. Some auditions require memorization. For instrumental, we do not require that. Just watch your tempo, practice dynamics and articulations when rehearsing. Remember, all those little things can really show a lot. If you have a technically demanding piece that you're not super comfortable with, when you play with good dynamics and articulations, it makes a world of a difference too. So don't underestimate those. Option A, if you have a private music teacher, please consult with them and choose and record yourself playing a solo that demonstrates your current technical level. Important, you must submit a PDF copy of your solo if you choose this option, as I said just a minute ago. And for pianists, there is an option for you, just it's coming. Um, Option B, if you do not have a private music teacher, please prepare one of the available studies for your instrument on our website, and I'll go over those in a second. Play the indicated part of the study and follow any written instructions. And if you do not feel comfortable playing the studies indicated due to lack of access to your instrument, consider applying for the Instrumental Development Program, which is a program we've already had in place, but we've only offered it for students that might not be quite ready for instrumental major course, but figured they'd be able to. They show potential, and perhaps would be able to be in that major position by the time they're in grade 10. So the only thing that's different because of COVID is that we're offering people an opportunity to audition directly into the development program, which has different requirements. So I encourage you just to check that video out as well and read those requirements as well, just for the instrumental development program, and that's for strings too. Where are we here? So notes for specific instruments. Percussion, only one excerpt. You'll see that there's a snare and a mallet. You only have to choose one. So I'm guessing most of you will choose snare. Note that on the music that I have for snare, there's also a bass drum part. You can ignore the bass drum part on that and focus on the snare part alone. And the snare part's the top part, the bass drum's the bottom part. So for percussionists, just choose either snare or mallets. And if you want to do both, and if you have access to mallets and you can do both, that's awesome. Go for it. For piano, if you do not play a band instrument, you may audition on piano. There's a couple of catches you need to consider. For piano players, space is limited. At a minimum, the solo must be played at a level 6 Royal Conservatory to be considered for the program. The reason for that is because if you were to play in a jazz band, it just makes it much easier for the pianist to be at that level of playing before they're able to accompany a jazz band, and that's at the junior jazz band level. And like I said, space is limited, so there is that requirement. If you are successful, pianists are expected to play mallets and percussion in class. Accepted applicants will have the opportunity to play piano in extracurricular groups such as jazz band, like I said, fiddle, or maybe perhaps audition, accompanying choir, or maybe even accompanying a student-led group auditioning for a gala performance or similar. If you play a band instrument, it's recommended that you audition on that band instrument, because we have had several instrumental majors that happen to play piano as well that end up playing piano in some areas that they prefer. So it's always recommended that you just go with that instrument if you do play a band instrument. Part 2. So I just wanted to show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to go back. So here's what the parts look like, and why don't I open up percussion? And when I go into percussion, you'll see the top line is that marks the snare part. And if you're not sure how to play certain parts, you'll notice in the technical requirements, there is a descriptor, a link that will take you to a description on how to play all these rudiments. So that there is a 5-stroke roll. If you're not sure how to play a 5-stroke roll, just follow the link and you can learn that way. Same with this 9-stroke roll. And if you have any questions, feel free to email, and I'm more than happy to help. But I thought I'd just show you that. And so if you scroll down, you'll see another selection. You'll also notice all of these selections are marked with instructions on where to begin and where to end. So I suggest that you follow that instruction, even if you're able to play more. All we need to hear is that small portion. And that gives us more than enough material to work with to determine whether you'd be successful in a grade 9 major class or not. And if you want to go further than that with difficulty, by all means, you can find a different solo with a private teacher if you happen to have one, and then you could submit that as well. And like I said, if this is too much for you, then maybe try out for the development program. So let's look at another one, just for fun. So let's say if you're auditioning on tuba, which that happens to be my instrument, so there you go. You'll notice that if you scroll down, there's more than one option. So you just choose whichever one you want and go with that. Just remember to watch for the key signature, make sure you're playing the right notes. Notice here, this is played in the key of F. So if you see an E anywhere, make sure that you're making it natural and not flat, because most students in grade at this level will be used to playing in B flat major, which happens to have 2 flats. And this is for concert pitch, by the way. Some of you play in different keys. So just be mindful of accidentals and what they're telling you. Be mindful of time signature. This is in cut time. If you can't quite play it at that speed, just take it a little bit slower. It's not the end of the world. Just make sure you're playing it clean. That's the most important part. So that you're just trying to make it as error-free as possible. So if you have to slow something down a little bit, that's preferable. Keep that in mind. Yeah, and so just there's the start, and here's where you'd end it. So it's not necessary to play any of the rest. Okay, and you'll notice that same is marked for this, and you'll also note that this is quite a short excerpt, but if you're able to play this accurately and with dynamics and all that business, that's all I need to hear. I don't need to hear more than that. So that's what that looks like. So we're back to this page here, and now I want to move on to part 2, and this is the rhythm sight reading. And if we go back to our description, scroll down to that. Part 2, B flat concert scale with arpeggio or rudiments for percussion. So for part 2, I would like you to play the B flat concert scale. 1 octave is fine. If you can play 2 octaves, that's amazing. I don't imagine many of you would be playing a 2 octave B flat concert scale, considering the fact that you're probably not playing this year because of COVID. So play that scale. And like I said, if this is not a realistic thing for you, then I would suggest the development. And we'll go over those details of what you need to, what that audition looks like in a separate video. So let's continuing on. B flat concert scale, 1 octave is all I'm looking for. The arpeggio is just the 1st degree, the 3rd degree, and the 5th degree of that scale, and then you play the top degree again. So da 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 is basically all you really need to do. And the arpeggio is that last part that I just did. For percussion, what I'd like you to do is play some rudiments. And here, your specific rudiments are sitting right here. Instead of playing a scale, you're going to play multiple bounce rolls, just holding for 8 counts. And so the roll, I'm not worried about hearing a beat within the roll, but 100 beats per minute. You can find that on a YouTube just by Googling metronome, and you can find, or even Google 100 BPM, and they'll take you to a YouTube page that gives you that tempo. But basically, it's about that fast. Okay, and 8 counts. You have to hold that roll for 8 counts. Okay, all the way through. Okay, and just make it as smooth as you can. It's a nice thing to master if you can get it. First 5-stroke roll. Again, that's something you can look up through Vic Firth. Flams, same thing. Drags. If you're not sure of how to do any of these things, you just go to this link. And that takes you to the Vic Firth webpage, which is an excellent resource for young percussionists and old percussionists. It shows you how to do all these things. There's the single stroke, there's the multiple bounce roll that I was just talking about, and there's the 5-stroke roll. So if you click on these links, it tells you how to play it. So I know some of you are thinking, well, I already know how to play that. I take lessons. That's why I'm auditioning for Eastwood. But not everyone has that background. So I'm just sharing this so that everyone is coming in on equal footing in terms of resources. Okay, so just scroll until you find the, there's your flam rudiments. And our drag rudiments are down here. So you just click, and there's a little video showing you how you can do it. And what I'm looking for is 5 to 10 times. Just repeating a flam 5 to 10 times, repeat a drag 5 to 10 times, same with the 5-stroke roll, and then that multiple bounce roll for 8 counts. So I would prefer this all in one video. So if you just did 8 counts first of the multiple bounce roll, and then just pause for a moment, collect yourself, and then go straight into the 5-stroke roll. Pause, collect yourself, and straight into the flam. Pause, then straight into the drag, and then you're done. Just make it easier rather than having all these tiny little videos. That's my suggestion, and do your best to do that. All right, part 3, rhythm reading. Now, with this, I do have resources for you. Just note that there's a sight reading practice tool. Feel free to use it. It's not necessary, but it's best if you actually can play your instrument and sight read along with it. We can't really do that because of our format that we have right now. Because of COVID, we can't do the same sight reading testing that we normally do. But if you wanted to improve your sight reading, you can check that website out. We're just going to be focusing on rhythms. So record yourself playing the rhythm sight reading document. You're going to perform 4 to 5 lines of progressively more challenging rhythms. Please demonstrate your rhythmic proficiency as far as you can on your instrument, choosing a comfortable pitch or note. If you are playing a percussion instrument, perform these rhythms on a snare or drum pad with alternating sticking. Hopefully that's clear, and I'm going to take you to the rhythm page. So back to our supplemental website, and that's this part right here. And I hope that you're going to be going back and forth between our instruction manual and the page that gives you all the links that you need to refer to. All right, so part 3, sight reading. You're going to click on that. And here's where we have a list of different rhythms that I would like you to clap through. And basically, you're going to go until you can't do it anymore. If you want to attempt all of them, even if you're unsure, that's fine too. So basically, don't worry if it's not perfect. Just try to show what you can do rhythmically when you're given a rhythm. So set a metronome to between 75 and 80 BPM. I guess I could do that right here. Watch this. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to Google metronome. Metronome. It's that hard. And you go 70. Let's go 85. And you press play. And that's your metronome. And if you have that playing in the background while you do it, that would be very great. Thank you. Please clap the following lines of rhythm, 1 line at a time, 2 times. So you're just going to listen to maybe 4 counts, listen to the metronome before you jump in. So if you're pressing record on your phone, you can press record. Make sure I can see you actually performing this too. And you basically just begin playing, and a concert F would work well. And you just begin playing all the way through this whole rhythm, and then repeat it one more time with no hesitation. So take that repeat sign and go right to the beginning as soon as the beat's up. Okay, that makes sense? And then you can just pause for a moment, let it continue to click. And then when you're ready, just continue with this feel. Just note that the change goes from 4/4 time to 3/4 time. And then same thing, remember, get a good feel of what that triplet should feel like in 4/4 time. And then it switches back to 3/4. Okay, and it's the same tempo. And so make sure you're playing it. If you are having difficulty articulating with those 16ths, then I would just go down to 70 BPM. And then finally, the metronome's going to stay the same, but when you're playing in 6/8 time, you need to accommodate for that. And we're basically just seeing how far you can take this exercise. So don't fret if this is getting really confusing towards the end. But if you are fully confident in 6/8 time, that's really good information for us to know as well. That's the rhythm exercise. So it says part 2, see instructions. Those are your scales and rudiments. Part 3 is rhythm sight reading. Okay. And then part 4 is listening. For this part, what you're going to do is you're going to listen to a melody, and then you're going to replicate that melody with your instrument. And the melodies are all going to be in B flat concert, and that's the main scale or key that you'd normally be learning an instrument on, is B flat concert. In most cases, the first note you've ever played is an F. It might not be your case, but it's typically the first note that you've played is a concert F. And then you just basically play, you would listen to the melody like this. I'll press play. And the first note of that melody is a B flat concert. And so that's for B flat concert pitched instruments. If you're a B flat instrument or a clarinet player, a tenor sax player, trumpet player, your first note would be a C, right? So you kind of have to do your transposition in your head. For E flat instruments like alto sax and bari sax, your first note would be a G. Okay, so that is a B flat. Got it? And then the rest is up to you. You got to figure it out, and then give me your best rendition by playing that melody back. So in your recording, you can press record. Make sure we see you. Play this. You let this audio play. That's fine if that's in the recording. And then you replicate it right after. And then you can go ahead to melody 2. Okay, and play it back. Oop, it just will go through each one. I didn't mean for it to continue all the way through to each one, but you can pause and then collect yourself and play the next one. You can, if you did it all in one recording, that'd be wonderful too. Basically having that audio file, then you replying, and then let the audio play again, then you reply. I'd rather have that all in one video. It'd be great. Thank you very much. And again, it's another test. How far can you take this? And some people have great listening skills, not so great reading skills. Some people have the opposite. So it's really a good way for us to take a full measure of the musician who's applying for the program. I don't want you to stress about it. I think that's everything. So what you're going to end up here with is a solo video. Okay? Could be one of these, or it could be one that you've chosen yourself. Then you'll also have your scale. Part 2 is your scale. And that's going to be with an arpeggio as well, B flat concert. And if you're a percussionist, you're giving me those rudiments, okay? Part 3 is the rhythm sight reading. And then part 4 is going to be the melody playback. All right, so hopefully you have all those videos put together, and there's going to be a form available, and it's almost ready, but not quite, as I am actually giving this instruction. Otherwise, I'd take you to the form and kind of share a little bit about that. But ultimately, you want to collect all these videos, all of that documentation into one organized base, so that when the form is live, you're able to click and drag things to the right spot. And there'll be other videos explaining that process too. And if there's any questions at all that you have after I've explained this, then please feel free to email me. You'll see my contact information in different places. It's my name is Mr. Drysdale, and yeah, hope to hear from you. And I hope that explained things well enough. And good luck.